Utthita Hasta Padangusthasana is pretty clearly one of the more challenging postures of the Ashtanga standing sequence. It, of course, gets introduced early on in the student's journey through the primary series, and it tends to be seen as a big one for students of almost all levels, really. That's just because of the nature of how much concentration and effort it requires, and the fact that the slightest lapse in concentration will mean that you have to reset yourself, rebuild the whole posture right from the ground up. So let's take a look at the vinyasa count to get a bit of a roadmap for all the positions that need to get touched on and honored and understood in the Utthita Hasta Padangusthasana sequence. So we'll start out as usual in Samasthitihi, and provided that you have enough space around you to do the whole pose, there should be no real need to shuffle forward or back before you begin the pose. First position, ekam, inhale, taking hold of the right big toe, lift that leg high and catch your balance standing upright. This will be your base position that you'll have to keep returning to, so feel the sense that you're well balanced before moving on. Dwe, exhale, everything from about the waist and down will stay in relatively the same place, but just allow your lower back to round as you reach forward with the chest and of course with the chin as you try to make contact with the shin. If it doesn't quite touch, that is also fine. Just go down as far as you feel stable in the pose and hold for 5 breaths. Trini, inhale, return to the base position, stop, hold your balance. Chatwari, exhale, expanding the leg out to the side. Try to isolate this movement from the hips so you're not twisting into the pelvis or skewing it up to follow the movement of the leg. Shift the gaze to the opposite side, taking Parshva Drishti, and hold for 5 breaths. Pancha, inhale, bring your leg back to the base position. Shat, exhale, reach the chin forward, try to touch. Sapta, inhale, using the strength of the leg to hold the leg. Slowly release the big toe and catch your waist with both hands. With the right leg completely straight, point the toes and hold for 5 breaths. Very common here is to start feeling tired or unstable at about breath 2 or 3, but realize that you do have a lot more energy in the legs than you might realize. So just a little bit of mind control is often the key to staying here for 5 full deep breaths. And then with control, exhale and release the foot down to the ground. Vinyasa counts Ashtau through Chaturdasha are all the same positions but on the left side. So Ashtau, inhale, take your left big toe. Nava, exhale, hold for 5 breaths. Dasha, inhale, come up. Ekadasha, exhale, take the leg out to the side. Shift the gaze and hold for 5 breaths. Dvadasha, inhale, bring your leg back. Trayodasha, exhale, try to touch. Chaturdasha, inhale, come up, balance, hold for 5 breaths, and then exhale, Samasthitihi. So, as is quite often the case in Ashtanga Yoga, if you have trouble moving through a particular section of the sequence, examining the vinyasa count is an exercise that can reveal those key moments where you need to develop proficiency. Then at least when you show up to the pose, you'll know that you have all the right pieces to the puzzle and they just need to be connected correctly on the day. In this case, that key position that needs to be honored is the base position. And this is a super important one, not just because you need to keep returning to it in between each of the states of the asana, but also because it's just the easiest. It's the most intuitive place in the sequence to really catch your balance. And you can feel a sense of connection from the grounding force in your standing leg that runs all the way up along the straight line right to the crown of the head. And if you can get comfortable here, you'll start to see that the various states of the asana are just variations on this same stable and familiar feeling that you have in this position. So let's have a look at some of the energetics and alignments specifically for the base position. So taking the big toe and lifting that leg, realize that there is going to be a perfect height for you to take the leg. It's going to be approximately with your outstretched hand at shoulder level, or maybe a little bit higher, perhaps with the big toe at eye level. And if you have more mobility, more flexibility than that, then realize that it's not the goal to challenge your range of motion here. That's going to be a very destabilizing way to approach this part of the practice, to constantly be trying to take yourself to the extremes of your range of motion. On the other hand, if you don't have the mobility to get to that ideal height, then what you'll tend to feel is that that puts a lot of strain on your ability to balance in the pose. The leg will feel like it's pulling you forward and down away from your center of balance. So your ideal way to practice the base position would be to just stand all the way upright, slightly bend the knee if you need to, and use this primarily as a balancing posture. And just trust that practicing this posture and all the other postures in the sequence will ultimately make this ideal base position much more accessible to you over time. So once you get to your ideal base position, you can start to engage in a little bit of energetic push and pull and really just hone in and find your perfect center line of balance. And that would be by pulling back with the shoulder as though you're trying to pull the hip back into a socket while simultaneously pressing into the ball of the foot. And those two opposing forces create this feeling of control. Perhaps you might even describe it as bandha, where you know specifically where your balance point is. You can feel that. And if you're either side of the balance point, you're still energetically engaged enough to pull yourself back to your central line of balance. And especially if you do start to lose it going one way or the other, you can just exercise a little bit more pull with the shoulder or a little bit more press into the ball of the foot. And that should bring you back to that feeling of balance. Once you've established that energetic connection, there you can start to expand and transition into all of the other stages of the pose. But really feeling connected first is going to be the key to moving through everything with proficiency. All right, so I'll leave it at that for today. Feel free to pop me a message in the comments if you like. Subscribe for more videos. See you in the next one.